Hi, I'm Ingemar, and I wanted to talk with you today about qualifying as a solicitor of England and Wales if you are from South Africa. So a particular theme for South Africans. Now, the SRA has changed the way that you can qualify as a solicitor to make it more modern and more flexible than it was in the past. So I'm going to break this into two parts. One, which is to do with people who are not qualified in South Africa as a lawyer, and then into the other part, which is those people who are. But going to some basics to start off with, the SQE, the Solicitor's Qualification Exam, that route for qualifying replaced the LPC route, or for foreign qualified lawyers, the QLTS scheme. So under the SQE route, there are four elements that you need to meet. First of all, you need to have a degree or degree equivalent. It doesn't actually have to be a degree. It can be a degree equivalent. It does not have to be a law degree. Then you have the exams that you have to pass, the SQE1 and the SQE2. Then the third element is the qualifying work experience, often referred to as QWE. So there is no longer a requirement for you to do a training contract or articles. That was done away with the SQE. It was part of the LPC, and it used to give law firms the control over everything, and the law firm would say whether you should qualify or not. Under the SQE, you take back control over your career. And so you have to acquire a minimum of 2 years qualifying work experience, which then needs to be confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. Sometimes people refer to that as being signed off. Okay. I'll talk some more about that in a moment. And the final element is what there's always been: prove your identity, DBS checks, things like that, and such like, before you are admitted, just to make sure you're an appropriate character and that sort of thing. So that remains in place. So if you are not qualified as a South African lawyer, then yes, you have to have a degree or degree equivalent. You'll have to sit and pass the exams. There's no exemption from the SQE1 or the SQE2 available to you. With one exception, I would say, SQE1, you could apply for exemption if you had already sat and passed the old LPC exam. You could train that in currently under the transition period against an SQE1 exam. So that's still possible at the moment. Element number 4, which was the prove your identity, character, and such like, everyone has to do. Now, if you're not qualifying as a lawyer in South Africa, you will also have to have confirmed or signed off the QWE, a minimum of 2 years qualifying work experience. Now, that needs to be done by an SRA regulated solicitor. If you have one in your organization, brilliant. They should be able to do that. Pretty straightforward. You ask their permission, of course, ask them to do that. Then you go onto the SRA website, your My SRA profile, you put in their SRA number, and that should prompt the SRA website to email them to ask them to go and confirm. It's very quick and easy. They just click to say that they confirm that. You get an email back from the SRA saying it's been done. Brilliant. If, however, you don't have an SRA regulated solicitor in your organization to do that, you can ask an external solicitor to do that for you. And that's a service that we provide. If I share my screen for a moment and take you to our website, here we have a lot of stuff about this. Actually, you can search, there's loads of information in there, but QWE confirmation, SQE2 exemption. So we're talking about QWE. Here we go, QWE, external confirming solicitor service. So we've done this for over 140 people from all over the world, including South African people, at the time of recording this, which is at the end of June 2026. And so you can see here loads of information about that. Let me explain a little bit more, okay? So 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. Right. So where you're asking an external solicitor to do the confirmation, the SRA requires us to do more than if, say, you were just working in my law firm, if I was running a law firm. So the SRA requires us to confirm that we have reviewed the work, which means seeing the work, and confirm that we've got feedback from your supervisor. Now, I do the feedback by way of a Zoom call, which is nice and easy for them, 5 or 10 minutes long, just getting the feedback, which I then write up into a statement for them and me to sign, send to you. Great, you got proof you did that. The review of your work, the SRA has confirmed, I checked earlier this year again, and they confirmed, yes, that means seeing the work, which I do by way of a Zoom call with you taking me through your work on your computer. Okay. So that helps with the confidentiality stuff. So I go through that in detail before then doing the other elements, and then I can sign it all off for you. It is a paid for service. What I do offer is a free, no obligation Zoom call, first of all, which allows me to assess whether it's appropriate for me to be doing this, and also to see whether I think what you've been doing is, in my opinion, qualifying work experience, because in the end, it is me that's putting my neck on the line by doing this confirmation. And then I go through explaining in this free Zoom call what the process is and answering your questions. So that's that service there. So if you're not qualified as a South African lawyer, that route is still open for you to perhaps use the articles that you may have done in South Africa as your qualifying work experience. I have helped people who perhaps were foreign nationals like Zimbabweans. I've had some of them who had gone through their articles, applied for admission, then being told that because they were not a South African national, they would not be permitted to qualify in South Africa. So they came knocking at the door saying, crikey, what can we do? Because they blocked our progress. So there you go. So that's if you're not qualified. If you are qualified as a lawyer in South Africa, then you are exempt from the qualifying work experience requirement, and you can apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam. Okay, so we have here a lot of information for people who are foreign qualified lawyers and therefore could make the application for exemption from the SQE2 exam. Okay, so you're welcome to that. You can email me. I'll be sending you through some information on that. But let me take you through a little bit more on this. So the SQE2 exemption application is only open to those people who are already qualified as lawyers. This is what the SRA says about it. Attorney or advocate. Okay. Now then, there are certain requirements which you can read on here that the SRA says. So you'll need to make the application, pay their fee of £265 as it is currently. Now, you'll need to provide evidence of your qualification, which could be a certificate of good standing or just the admission certificate. And then we get to a couple of variances. Okay, so you need to provide evidence of completion of your articles of clerkship. They say supervisor's affidavit. That seems a bit overkill to me. Just a letter of reference seems to me to be an easier thing to do, which you'll probably draft. Now, if you have your clerkship of 1 year, it says, please forward the reference showing at least 12 months legal work experience post-qualification. If it was 2 years, then you don't need to send anything post-qualification. But again, your letter of reference needs to affirm the articles were done for 2 years before qualification. So that's fairly straightforward. Now, what happens if your period of articles was split between more than one firm? The SRA has confirmed or clarified to a client of ours, who is a South African lawyer, that you would need to get a letter from each of the firms where you did part of your articles. So that would be a reference letter. Okay. So now we can help you with the drafting of those letters and such like, but I just wanted to make it clear to you, that little piece of clarification that we got from the SRA. It is fairly much to be expected, but that's what they want. So it would be a reference letter for each of the firms at which you did the articles. If it was just one firm, okay, brilliant, just one letter. If it was 2 firms, the letters from each of those firms, from your supervisor for the articles. Okay. And if the supervisor's moved on to another firm, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Just go and find them there, and that should be fine. So they don't have to still be at the same firm. So that's to do with applications for exemption from the SQE2 exam. And as I said, it is something that we can help with as well. So I hope that's of help to you. And given some clarity to people who are from South Africa but want to qualify as an English solicitor. So please do get in touch if you have any questions. If you found this helpful, may I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have many videos on there to help people, and I'm always trying to get the number of subscribers up. It helps then with all the algorithms and such like. So there you go, Unused Consultancy on YouTube. The pink ones are all to do with the SQE and QWE and exemptions. Green ones is full webinars that I do on this topic, and the blue ones are to do with compliance, because we do a lot of compliance support, and the orange ones is a particular case management system that we support called LEAP. So just to explain the coloring there. Right, I'll stop now before I start rambling, and I hope you found that to help. So Ingemar, Honey's Consultancy, wishing you all the best. Goodbye.